Yo, what's up? What's crack-a-lackin'? This is K-Dizzle in the cut. You're listening to the interactive interview. Órale, arriba la raza.
Interactive Wrestling Radio.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Interactive Interview on theinteractiveinterview.com. I'm James Walsh, joined as always by Daniel Edler, with our special guest, K-Dawg, Konnan. Konnan, how you doing?
Yeah, what's up?
Not a lot.
All right.
Do you mind if we just get right into the questions?
Yeah, go ahead.
First, we'll start out from one of our readers called Asylum. There's a question for you saying, rumour has it that you had a rough childhood and were thrown out of several schools. What advice would you have for children in the same position that you were in, given your experience?
You know, every situation is different. Every person's different. So, I mean, the only thing I can say is that I was thrown out of schools, and it came back to haunt me because I had a lot of trouble getting jobs and graduating from school. But you know, all I can basically say, I mean, I know this sounds like, you know, the correct answer is just, you know, try to maintain your grades so you can go to college, basically. I mean, I probably could have gone to a good college, and I probably could have gone to the University of Miami if I would have kept on a football scholarship, if I would have kept my grade average up. So.
How'd you end up getting involved in wrestling?
Just went to a show in Mexico. Basically, a guy saw me. I used to be a boxer, and he saw I could, you know, throw my fist pretty good, and he invited me to a show in Tijuana, and I was mesmerized because I'd never seen Mexican wrestling, so I was pretty mesmerized by the capes, the flips, the dives, the coolness of it all, how different it was from American wrestling, how slow American wrestling was compared to Mexican wrestling, and, you know, the next day I went into training.
Who was it that trained you?
Rey Mysterio's uncle, Rey Mysterio Sr., Super Astro, another guy called Negro Casas, and Eddie Guerrero.
How was wrestling in Mexico different to wrestling in America?
Well, you see it in the ring. I mean, it's a lot quicker, it's faster, it's more creative. The outfits are more colorful, a lot more. They're more into submission holds. They do 3 falls instead of 1. You know, the only bad thing about Mexican wrestling is it has very little psychology. That's why it never took off in the United States, and that's why now you see that places like Ring of Honor, X Division, a lot of the wrestling you're seeing coming from Britain, a lot of the wrestlers like Jody Fleisch and Doug Williams and all those guys, you can see they had a huge, they were heavily influenced by Mexican wrestling. I mean, Tiger Mask was heavily influenced, Chris Benoit was heavily influenced, Eddie Guerrero, Rey Mysterio, Ultimate Dragon. I mean, it's a very cool style. Unfortunately, in the United States, since it doesn't have a lot of psychology, the people didn't understand it. And since a lot of the wrestlers didn't speak Spanish, you know, they couldn't speak on the mic. And, you know, there's a lot of racism in American wrestling, so that held back Lucha Libre. But I just think Lucha Libre is a lot more exciting than American wrestling.
One of the times we first got to see you in American, at least on a national level, was with the Max Moon gimmick. Who came up with the Max Moon gimmick?
I did.
Do you feel Vince used that properly?
No, well, he didn't use it properly because I didn't give him a chance to. I mean, he invested about, you know, close to $13,000 on the gimmick. It was really cool for its time. You know, it was a robot outfit that I had designed, that I had seen in Japan when I was wrestling there for Onita. And, you know, it was going to have these hidden tubes that shot fire and confetti, and smoke came out the back. And it was really cool. And at that time, you know, I only showed up for TV tapings because they were trying to modify the robot equipment. And, you know, back then it was the days of the Giants. You know, the Road Warriors were there, Von Erich was there, Razor Ramon was just starting, Hogan, Ultimate Warrior. You know, it was a steroid era. Everybody was really big, and I was kind of small, and I never went on the road with those guys, so they kind of didn't really take me in. And Vince wouldn't give me a guaranteed contract. He said the only guy that had a guaranteed contract was Hogan and Warrior. And, you know, I was guaranteed money in Mexico, and I had just done a soap opera that was pretty popular, so I just quit going to the TV tapings, and one day Paul Diamond asked if he could do the gimmick, and they fired me. So it was my fault, not his. I mean, he was very cool with me, and I'm really the one that messed it up.
So I guess you don't have any heat with Vince McMahon over that?
No, well, I do, because I haven't been able to go back. I can't believe that it's just over that. I just think that, I have a tendency to speak my mind, and in this sport, a lot of times, if you're not a superstar, you're not supposed to complain.
You worked for ECW for a short time. What was your opinion of their style of wrestling?
Oh, it was awesome, because Paulie, he believed in the junior heavyweights. He used a lot of small guys. Mikey Whipwreck, Sabu, Taz, Rey Mysterio, Psychosis. I mean, he got it. He understood it. Paulie really revolutionized wrestling, probably a lot like Mid-South did in their day, and, Texas did in their day. And, I mean, he revolutionized wrestling. I mean, Stone Cold, to me, got a lot of his stuff from Sandman. And obviously, he's not I'm not saying he's a ripoff because he has his own style, but, he had just come out of ECW. And, I mean, he's a guy that revolutionized wrestling, and you still see a lot of the stuff that Paulie did back then. You still see a lot of it in wrestling. I think I helped revolutionize it in a way by bringing all the Mexicans, and you still see a lot of lucha influence. I mean, there's never been so many small guys in the business as there are now. That's because they saw the lucha guys.
What led to you going to WCW?
I'd done everything in Mexico you could do. I had the all-time attendance record. I mean, I had booked AAA for 6 years. Every year was very profitable. We never had a losing year. I had done commercial soap operas. I'd won every championship there was. I'd beaten Perro Aguayo, who was the biggest legend in Mexico for his hair. I'd beaten Jake the Snake Roberts for his hair, who's a big legend here. I'd done it all in Mexico. I was basically a crossover success, and, it's like nobody really knew me outside of Mexico. So I knew that if I came to the United States and I could make it here, everybody wants to make it in the United States, whether it's in movies, music, or wrestling. And it was a challenge to me. And I think when we went to LA and we drew 17,000 people in '93 at the LA Sports Arena, outdrawing WWF and WCW, that's when WCW said, we need to get this guy to draw Latinos. Unfortunately, once I got there, that wasn't the case.
What is your memory of the match when you beat One Man Gang for the WCW United States title on WCW Worldwide?
I just remember he wasn't too happy about it and was very stiff with me during the whole match.
How instrumental were you in the luchadors being brought over to WCW?
To where?
WCW.
To WCW? Oh, 100%. I mean, if I wouldn't have told them, they wouldn't have brought them in. They had no idea who they were or what the style was. I remember when Rey Mysterio first walked in, people were making comments like, oh, I didn't know we were going to have midgets today. And I went to Rey and I said, you know what? Go in the ring, don't get nervous, and blow them away. You got Dean Malenko who's going to guide you and blow them away. Now, I was in WCW for 5 years. I only saw 2 matches get a standing ovation when the guys went back into the locker room. Rey Mysterio's debut match against Dean Malenko and Rey Mysterio against Eddie Guerrero at Halloween Havoc. So it was just like, they didn't know what they had, and once they had it, and the luchadors were one of the reasons we were beating WWF, the guys on top got jealous because they couldn't follow that act, and they systematically got rid of them.
How did you enjoy your matches with Ric Flair?
They were different because, Ric Flair was my idol when I was growing up, and I'd never, ever had a match called in the ring. That's very old school. You don't see that anymore. So when I went in there, I didn't know. First of all, I didn't know how to call a match, and I really didn't know how to follow a match, because usually in the back, you set up the match, and then you go in the ring and you do it. And sometimes during the match, you'll call stuff out. But I'd never had somebody call the match from top to bottom, which is really cool because it's like, wow, this is how wrestling used to be, And, I followed him around, but it was weird for me because I was so used to setting up everything in the back. Then when I went to Puerto Rico for Carlos Colon, they still do matches like that. And then I learned how to call a match in the ring because I was there a year and a half. And by the end, I was pretty much an expert at it. I mean, I was having some of the best matches of my career against Carly Colon. So it takes a while to learn, but if you can learn how to do it, it makes you a much more valuable wrestler, you know. And guys like Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit, those type of guys can still do it.
You will remember the NWO and one of the pioneers of the Wolfpack.
Right.
Do you feel WCW dropped the ball by not having a ultimate NWO match, like having closure to the angle?
Well, at that time, they were mad with Nash. They were mad at Luger, and they were mad at me. So what they did is they just got back at us by never letting the group reach its full potential, because the Wolfpack at one time was like the hottest thing in the company. And at that time, I was second, me personally, after, I was third after Goldberg and after the NWO merchandising. Mm-hmm. I was third, and they never did nothing with me. They never did nothing with the Wolfpack. They, you know, Eric was really good at, you know, getting people back if he was mad at them. And he could have made a lot of money with us, but he was mad at Lex, Kevin, and me.
Can I ask why he was mad at you guys?
He was mad at Kevin because Kevin and Hogan were having problems, and as you know, Eric was always, like, you know, on Hogan's side. He was mad at Lex because Lex was helping Kevin Nash stir up the shit in the locker room. And he was mad at me because I was hanging out with them, and because I didn't want to quit working in Mexico, and I kept working in Mexico behind his back.
What is your memory of your matches with Chris Jericho?
You know, me and Chris Jericho have been great friends since Mexico, and when his name there was Corazón de León, Lionheart, and real good friend, and he's always been an amazing talent, but I didn't know how good of a ring general he was. Wait 1 second, please.
Okay.
I didn't know how good of a ring general he was till we wrestled one day in Knoxville, and I beat him for the U.S. title, and that's when I realized how good he really is. Just a real good ring general.
How did Lex Luger treat you in the Wolfpack days?
At the beginning, he was real cool. At the end, he was kind of a jerk.
Do you feel that the Master P stuff was well received?
By the fans, it was all right. You know, by the end, they made such a mockery out of it. You know, everybody was kind of laughing at it. But that was basically, you know, Kevin Sullivan and Kevin Nash and Eric Bischoff. You know, three white guys who have no idea. Even though Kevin Nash was, you know, for a white guy was cool, at that time he was mad at me too. And they just made sure that it failed. They just made sure that that gimmick failed. They could have drawn a lot of fans, and I had a chance to sign $1 million contract with a guy called Jay Prince from Rap-A-Lot Records, who, for anybody that knows rap music, Jay Prince is as big as Puff Daddy or Master P. And, you know, it would have meant a lot of publicity for WCW, and Eric Bischoff was mad at me, and he didn't let me do it, you know. And, you know, Kevin Sullivan booked it in a way where when we were wrestling the West Texas Rednecks or whatever they were called, you know, he was making sure that they came out like the baby faces and not us. So it was pretty much, at one point, it was designed to get buried.
Do you prefer the Filthy Animals gimmick or the Wolfpack?
I liked them both. You know, they were different. I mean, I liked them both. The Filthy Animals I probably liked better because they were all my best friends at the time, and basically I picked a group. And I said, well, fuck, if they're going to bury us, at least let us have fun together, you know.
What was your opinion when Vince Russo...
As you can see in WCW, burying somebody or teaching them a lesson took precedence over business.
What was your opinion of Vince Russo?
You know, as much flack as he gets, and this has nothing to do that he works in NWA. He's one of the coolest guys I've ever met in the business. Nice guy, very passionate, and... you know, I think he has a good mind for the business. He's, for everybody that talked bad about him, he's showing in TNA that he can write a good show. Him and Disco Inferno have done a great job the last few months, and, you know, to blame him for all of WCW's ills is unfair. You know, everybody, you know, Sullivan's to blame, Brad Siegel's to blame, Eric Bischoff's to blame, Kevin Nash is to blame, you know, and I think when Vince was in WWF, he helped turn the company around point blank. He's a guy that was righty.
There are rumors that late in WCW, Rick Steiner was very stiff against you. Is there any truth to this?
Yeah, in the last match we had right before they got sold, he was stiff, and Shane Douglas was supposed to come out, and Shane Douglas didn't get his cue, and he started to get stiff with me, and I was really upset because I knew if I started a fight with Rick Steiner, I'd probably get fired because he was Bischoff's friend. Not too long ago, I asked him about it, and he apologized, so that's cool with me.
Were you surprised to see the company get sold?
Yes, I was surprised.
Do you think that was a negative or a positive for the business?
You could see for yourself. It's been a huge negative. There's a lot of people out of work, and Vince's ratings have actually gone down. So have his house show numbers, and has his pay-per-view numbers. So obviously, it's not been good for the business.
Is racism a problem in the business, especially in WCW?
Yeah, racism is a problem because what happens is this is not like football or basketball or music where, if you don't like it somewhere, you can go to another team. There's like 2 games in town right now, NWA and WWF, and of course the independents. And, and when WCW was around, and they were owned by white guys, and there's no Latino or black agents, there's no Latino or black announcers, there's no Latino or black producers. So until you get, like in football, where you have head coaches that are black, or general managers or assistant coaches, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We're never going to get a fair shot. I mean, people can say they're tired of hearing about it, and of course they're tired of hearing about it because they're not the one being discriminated against. But, they can pretend it doesn't exist, or it's not that bad, or, I'm bitter. It exists.
Dan, you want to take the next one?
Currently, in NWA TNA, you're working with Ron Killings and B.G. James as the 3 Live Crew. You're also in the first Battle Royal. Do you think the idea of the weekly pay-per-views is working, and how are you enjoying your current 3 Live Crew gimmick?
Yeah, well, the pay-per-view is working. I mean, it's pretty hard to get people to buy the show every week when you can see WWF for free. But I think our show's better than theirs right now. It'd be pretty hard to say it isn't, because it is. I just think we need a national TV deal, and we could compete with Vince. I really do, and I think some of Vince's guys would leave him. The other question was about B.G. James, and what would you ask me?
If you're enjoying the 3 Live Crew gimmick.
Yeah, well, that was basically my idea, to put us together. Me and, I thought of it first, and Ron wanted to do it, and then BG, since we hang out together, he told Jeff to put us together. But I had been asking for me and Ron Killings for a long time. Then when BG said he wanted to do something with us, we said, yeah, we're actually 3 great friends behind the scenes, so I think the chemistry's pretty obvious in the ring, and the people like us a lot, so it's working and it's fun, and that's what wrestling should be. I mean, WCW was the first time in my career. I'd always loved wrestling, always woke up early for it, always, was watching wrestling tapes, was always working out, was always thinking of new outfits to bring out in Mexico. I mean, I just loved wrestling, and when I got to WCW, like many guys who had a passion for it, like Rey Mysterio, Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit, Chris Jericho, Dean Malenko, guys that had always loved this business, we hated it. It was very hard to work in that type of environment.
Did you almost want to go with Malenko and Benoit and Guerrero when they left WCW?
Well, I was part of the original group. It was them, me, Billy Kidman, and Shane Douglas were all in the room at the same time. When we left the room, Shane Douglas decided he wanted to stay because he knew they weren't going to give him that much money in WWF. Billy Kidman changed his mind, and he was kind of convinced to stay. Like, look, if you stay, we're going to really do something with you. And then I wasn't going to leave unless Rey Mysterio and Juventud Guerrero left with me, and Eric wouldn't let them go. So what he did is he suspended me for Eric wasn't even there. It was a guy called Bill Bush. He suspended me for 3 months. Him and J.J. Dillon suspended me for 3 months as kind of like punishment, and they wouldn't let Ray or Hoovy go, so I basically stayed.
Dan?
How do you feel about the Internet's role in pro wrestling?
Excuse me?
How do you feel about the Internet's role in pro wrestling?
The Internet's role?
Yeah.
I'm not a real big fan of the Internet. You know, I just think a lot of guys that are in the Internet, not everybody, but a lot of guys are very negative. You know, they got nothing better to do than talk crap about, you know, a sport that they've been following since they were kids. And there's nothing wrong with criticizing something that's bad, but, you know, they start getting into people's personal lives, and this guy blew up, and that guy showed up late for a show. Who gives a damn? You know, I mean, what does that have to do with anything? And, you know, it's like the other day I was reading, you know, I think it was in the Observer, and they were like, well, the guy that played the Easter Bunny was actually this guy. I mean, who cares who was the Easter Bunny? I mean, it's just gotten too,
Inside?
It's gotten way too inside, and, I just think a lot of the fans are now writing on the Internet. A lot of the fans are now promoters. You know, they found out, okay, all I need is somebody to sponsor a show. I'll get some money. I'll hang out with wrestlers that I like, because there's no way I'll ever be able to wrestle in WWF or WCW, and maybe I'll get them to put me over. You know, it's like they're all marks. A lot of the guys on the Internet, you know, are just there to see, you know, oh, did you see, you know, I wrote a column for here or there, and did you see what I wrote about K-Dawg or Road Dogg or, you know, Buff Bagwell or whoever. And, you know, a lot of these guys, instead of being on the Internet for 15 hours a day, they should be out trying to get some pussy. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I mean, I don't know. It's just like, I could not be on the Internet all effing day and night, you know, figuring out, you know, why this guy didn't show up for a show, or who was backstage, or, you know, it's just a lot of gossip. Really, it looks like the National Enquirer a lot of times. Just a lot of BS I'm like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man, I understand.
To me, I don't, you know, if you respect me, respect me. If you don't, you don't. I don't cater to the Internet. I don't cater to nobody. I just go out, and it's like I've seen a lot of times I'll give you an example. They'll put, well, Jim Duggan sucks, you know. Well, who gives a shit if he sucks? Was his match entertaining? The people got into it, you know, and that's what matters. This isn't a wine tasting contest where we're trying to check for, you know, dexterity and, you know, I mean, it's like, it's wrestling. Did you like it or did you not like it? You know, that's the bottom line. Well, this guy, you know, he blew up quick, and that guy can't, you know, he's not that athletic. And, well, you know, everybody can ping pong around the ring, but a lot of those guys aren't making money. At the end of the day, it's who made money and who entertained you. Bottom line.
You just mentioned it, but how do you answer critics that pick on you for quote-unquote blowing up?
I really don't give a shit what they say. Like I said before, they're entitled to their own opinion. I think half of their writing sucks, and I think a lot of them are losers. I really don't care. It doesn't faze me, to tell you the truth. At the end of the day, I know that in this business I've done a lot. I've been to Mexico and been champion, the United States and been champion, Puerto Rico and been champion. There have been times that I've blown up for one or two reasons, usually because I'm hurt and I've got disc problems. And so I have a trouble doing cardio, running and stuff like that, because I may need a hip replacement when I'm done wrestling. That's how bad my hip is and my discs. And so it's hard for me to get cardio. I can't stay on the bicycle or the treadmill that long or play basketball. I used to play basketball for 3 hours a day. Now I can only play about 30 minutes because then my whole back and hip starts to hurt. But, you know, if I've blown up, I've blown up, you know. But at the end of the day, like I say, you know, when I go out there, I can still, my last few matches in TNA, my back's been getting better. I've been seeing a specialist. You know, the people have been behind me, and those same critics that have said I've blown up have said I've given pretty good matches. But, you know, I'm not here to be praised. All I know is that when I go out there, do I connect with the people? Dutch Mantell, Terry Taylor, Raven, three of the smartest guys to me in this business, have all said the same thing that I subscribe to. When you go out there, do the people connect with you? Who cares if you can do backflips and all that? A lot of guys can do that. A lot of guys can wrestle. I can wrestle. But can you connect with the people? That's the hard part. And can you make money?
Dan, take the next one.
Another question from our chat forums comes in. I know you touched on it earlier on, but since Rey Mysterio Jr. is now in WWE, is there any chance of you joining up?
You know, there might be a chance, and I can't really say more than that right now.
Daniel, what's the word associations? Dan?
Hello?
Are you having trouble with your phone over there?
Yeah, it's just a small dose of trouble, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, no problem. Okay.
Sorry about that.
Would you be okay with us now doing some word associations where you just, you can either say one word on the name or you can give a story if you've got one?
Right.
Okay. First on the list, we've got Vampiro.
Vampiro. He's a guy that's very hard to figure out because he's turned into a really good worker, and he's not that bad in the ring either. But he's turned into a really good worker, and it's kind of a joke in that, you know, he's always working me 24 hours a day. Every time I see him, he's trying to work me. But he's turned into a hell of a talent, intelligent guy, but also very weird.
Jerry Lynn.
Jerry Lynn, a guy that's worked very, very, very hard to get where he is. I respect him a lot because for his age, you know, he still goes out there and busts his ass. And I had some really good lucha-style matches with him when he was Mr. JL in WCW.
Trinity.
Trinity. I don't know her that well. You know, she has a real good look. She does some really cool things. But, you know, she was definitely exposed when they put her in wrestling matches because she wasn't ready yet. And, you know, wrestling takes a long time to learn, but I'm not a big fan of women's wrestling. As a matter of fact, I will go so far to say I don't like women's wrestling. But she definitely could be a hell of a manager or ballet or, you know, something like that.
Billy Kidman.
Billy Kidman, hell of a talent, real good friend, and very funny guy.
Brad Siegel.
Brad Siegel?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you can't say bad words here, right?
You can. Sure you can.
He's just a fucking asshole. If I ever saw him in person, I'd punch his lights out. I'm serious.
Wow. Let me throw in one here, Dan. Art Barr.
One of the best friends that I ever had in my life. And I actually have a tattoo of him on my arm. And me, him, and Eddie Guerrero, you know, we had a really special bond. And especially Eddie and Art. And, you know, he's a guy that really showed me about the business side of the sport. Really showed me because his father was a promoter. He showed me a lot about the sport, just like Eddie did. Those are two guys that I owe a lot of my business acumen to.
Speaking of Eddie, how about Eddie Guerrero?
He's the king of wrestling. He's probably the best person I've ever been in the ring with. He's a good friend. I love him to death, and you know, he's a good man. He's had his troubles like we've all had, and I saw him not too long ago, and he's walking with the Lord, which is a very beautiful thing. Eddie's the man.
Ron Killings.
Ron Killings, oh, very, very, very athletic, very gifted. He's a future superstar. Very gifted and really loves the sport a lot. Good guy.
E.G. James.
E.G. James, you know, he's another second-generation wrestler who knows a lot about the sport and for a long time wasn't motivated, and right now he's very motivated. One of the funniest guys in the business, if you've seen the vignettes on NWA, you know, he's one of the funniest guys in the business, and he's very motivated right now, and I'm happy for him. He's losing weight, and he's starting to feel that passion for wrestling that he had lost.
How about Miss Elizabeth?
Excuse me?
Miss Elizabeth?
Oh, wow. Very sweet lady, and just a really sweet lady who, very unfortunate accident. You know, I'm sure that it must have been tough for her. I don't want to get into too many specifics, but let's just say she was a very classy lady, and she will be missed.
Kurt Hennig?
One of my best friends, and I'll tell you something. When Kurt Hennig was put in that cowboy thing against us, when he was doing that rap is crap, against me and Rey Mysterio when it was him and I think it was Bobby Duncombe Jr.
Right.
Was that his partner?
Yeah.
God rest his soul. I remember he was really, really mad, and he was like, "This is stupid. Why are they doing this?" And I go, "Because they're trying to get back at me." I said, "But you know what, Kurt? You're one of the greatest wrestlers I've ever seen in my life. I remember when you were Mr. Perfect, and I was in WWF, and I was Max Moon. I used to go out there and watch your matches. You're the man. Go out there and show them you're the man." And I remember he was so motivated, you know, because I had shown him all this respect, and he always used to tell me, "Man, thanks for motivating me in WCW because I really felt like crap." And he was always fun. He always pulling ribs. He was a really, really, really good guy, and it's another shame that that happened to him too. He was a good guy.
Rey Mysterio Jr.
Rey Mysterio Jr., he's like my brother, one of the nicest guys I've ever met in the business, definitely a guy that has revolutionized wrestling. And him, along with Sabu, Two Coach Scorpio, Juventud Guerrera, there's probably a couple guys I'm missing right now, La Parca, some of the most creative moves I've ever seen in wrestling, just very creative. He likes to create instead of, like, steal stuff or copy it, you know. Before all is said and done, he'll be a superstar in this sport. I think one day, I really believe one day he's going to be a main event. He's going to be main eventing a WrestleMania or main eventing a pay-per-view for another company because he's that good.
Kevin Nash.
Kevin Nash, one of the smartest, funniest guys I ever met in my life, and but can be a real prick if you rub him the wrong way.
Hulk Hogan?
Hulk Hogan. You know what? We became pretty good friends before he was done in WCW. I just feel that Hogan, as much fame as he has, as much power as he has, as much money as he has, he's a lot like Kevin Nash and Lex Luger and some other guys. Are very paranoid. Why, I don't know. But these guys that seemingly have it all are very paranoid. He's always paranoid that, you know, like I remember we always used to tell him, "Why don't you shave your hair, you know? Your hair, how you have it, looks really bad." And he thought we were playing a rib on him, you know. We were trying to make him look better, you know. And just very paranoid that somebody's always going to try to screw him over, you know. But a really cool guy. Is actually a really cool guy just to hang out with. And a good father. He loves his son to death. I like Hogan.
David Penza.
He gets a lot of heat, but I like David. He works really, really hard. He's learned a lot about the business, and he's a good guy. I like David a lot. Good ring announcer, too. You would never think that his voice is with that body.
Bill Bush.
Bill Bush?
Yeah.
Just a jack-off. Didn't know what he was doing, and he let J.J. Dillon and a lot of guys get in his ear, and they knew he didn't know what he was doing, and that they took advantage of him. Just a real... I felt sorry for him because he was way above his head, and when the Sharks saw that they had a guy that had no idea what he was doing, they just really kind of brainwashed him, you know.
Kevin Sullivan.
Kevin Sullivan, wow. Actually a really cool guy if you sit down just to hang out with him. He's the guy that actually brought me into WCW. He's really the guy that convinced Eric to bring in all the Mexicans. He's a lot like Paul Lee, just a visionary, just a real visionary, really smart, knows everything about the business, a genius. But he's kind of like Kevin Nash, that if you rub him the wrong way, he can be very sinister.
Eric Bischoff.
Eric. You know, I would have to say that for a long time I hated Eric Bischoff, and he's another guy that if I would have seen him in the street, I'd probably rip him to pieces. I don't care if he knows karate or not. I think we would actually have to sit down and clarify a lot of things, because he really fucked my career over big time.
And the final one that I've got is Vince McMahon.
Vince McMahon. The man. He is the man, you know. Just, he's done a lot of good and a lot of bad for wrestling, but it's easy to criticize, but he has stood the test of time, and when he lost Hogan and Nash and Hall and Kurt Hennig and Gene Okerlund, he made new guys. The Rock, Hunter, Mankind, You know, I mean, it's easy to bash him, but I defy anybody to be in his position and have the success he's had. He's taken a lot of risk. I mean, what can you do except admire him? I just wish, the only thing I wish he would do is for all the guys that have helped him make money, or for all the guys that are in the business that are having trouble make money, why doesn't he have another promotion or do something to help other people out? You know what I'm saying?
Are you surprised to see him on WWF TV or WWE TV?
No.
No?
He's got a healthy ego.
I got one more. Carlos Colon.
Superhuman being, great heart. Unfortunately, he made two big mistakes. One is he didn't want to change his style of wrestling, and he still does very old school stuff that nobody cares or believes in anymore. And he pushed his sons ahead of other guys that were more established, and that led them leaving the company, and that's really hurting him right now. But as a person, just a hell of a human being.
And I lied, I got one more after that. Mil Mascaras.
Who?
Mil Mascaras.
Wow. I'll give you a story about Mil Mascaras, which is incredible. When I was 6 years old, I used to watch Mil Mascaras in Miami, and I was such a fan of his because A, he was Latin, and there weren't that many Latin stars. B, he had an incredible physique when back then not that many people had. Maybe him, Superstar Billy Graham, not too many, Rocky Johnson. And, okay, I'll tell you a story about Mil Mascaras.
Okay.
Mil Mascaras, when I was a young kid, I used to always have drawings of him, and I always used to draw him in class. He was just so mystical because he had a mask, so I compared him to, like, Batman and Robin. To me, he was like a superhero, you know? And when I first got to Mexico, they always used to call me the next Mil Mascaras, and he hated that, and so did I. And he used to treat me really, really, really bad, and I got into a fight with one of his brothers in the ring, and he never wanted to do jobs for me, and he always used to, you know, embarrass me in the ring, put shoot holds on me. Just really was very difficult to work with. As the years passed and I became more famous in Mexico and I got more money, one day somebody knocks on my door, and it's him. And I was like, wow, what's this guy doing here? And he comes in and, you know, he says, you know what, I just want to be the first to welcome you to this neighborhood. I live here. He goes, and I want to introduce you to my wife. And little did I know he had a Japanese wife. He introduced me to his wife. And he says, if you ever need anything, I live right over there. And I could not believe that when I was a little kid, I used to idolize this guy. Then I hated him because he used to treat me so bad. And then now, 9 years later, it was like, you know, he was finally accepting me because he knew that, A, you know, I had paid my dues, and B, I lived in the same neighborhood he lived in, so he knew I must have made good money to live there. So it was like his way of saying, you know what, I now accept you. You are now on my level, you know. And after that, we talked and talked. And I'll tell you what, in all the years I've been in wrestling, and I'm telling you, I've met some really bright guys in this business. None of them was more well-versed, more well-read than Mil Mascaras. He knows just about everything, and just a very, kind of like a Renaissance man, just very cultured, and I just couldn't believe it. You know, I just couldn't believe it that here I was living in the same neighborhood he was, and that he had come to my house to basically kind of like saying, I now accept you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand.
That's probably one of the greatest moments in my life.
Wow.
Before we close up, I've got two more questions from our chat forums. They're both about your current gimmick in NWA TNA.
Right.
The first one is, forum member Asylum would like to know, which of your current Visionettes do you like filming the most?
Liked filming?
Yeah.
I think it was funny when we were in the hood, when we were in the black neighborhood, because they didn't want any white guys there, and they were screaming stuff at them, and you know, a guy actually pulled up to us with a gun, and he said, what are we doing in the neighborhood, you know? And that's really how it is in the hood. And we were just like, yo, we're wrestlers, and he recognized us, and so everybody, like, calmed down. But it kind of showed the cameramen that were with us who had never been into the hood how dangerous it really is and how they don't like white people being there. And it was funny because BG dressed up as a pimp, and he thought that, you know, they were going to hate him. And no, they were loving it, you know. And, and it was just funny seeing the reaction of the white guys that were with us.
And the second question from the forums is, how can we catch up on what K-Dawg's doing nowadays? Which indie dates you're wrestling?
You know what, like I said, I'm not a big fan of the internet, so I don't put anything on the internet. I don't update my website. I don't do nothing. You know, I just really am, I just go out there and wrestle, and I just try to put on, you know, I just try to entertain the fans, you know, and just try to do a lot of Mexican holds and counter holds that hardly nobody does anymore. Get on the mic and rock it, and hopefully when the fans leave, they go, you know, that was an entertaining match. That's good enough for me right now. I hope that NWA really makes it big, and, you know, then I'll probably be more susceptible to getting on a website. Or I know Jimmy Hart is trying to start something soon. Hopefully I can work for Jimmy Hart and NWA. And I really believe that when my career's over, I'm going to be writing or producing for WWF or TNA or Jimmy Hart or somebody like that, you know. And one of the main things I really want to do, one of my dreams, is to get a Lucha Libre show on TV, whether it's Telemundo, Univision, or even part of the promotion I'm in, and bring back that style of wrestling to the United States. And when I say that style, I'm talking about when we first got the WCW, and they used to have those Mexican six-man, remember?
Yes.
How exciting those were?
Yes.
You don't see that anymore. So I would love to bring that back.
What is your opinion of the X Division?
It's great. It's great. Like I said before, when I first got into NWA, I said X Division is just a lot of Mexican lucha libre with Japanese stiffness and kicks and American psychology. But if you look at the moves, a lot of it is lucha libre, you know. And it's awesome because you're getting to see guys like Frankie Kazarian and Low-Key and AJ and, you know, Michael Shane and Chris Sabin. And you can see a lot of the stuff they picked up from lucha tapes. So it makes me feel good because the style that I brought here in 1996 is still big in the year 2003.
Dan, do you have anything else?
Nope.
You do?
Nope.
Oh, okay. And why'd you say uh-huh? Okay, thank you very much for this interview. We really appreciate it, and stay tuned for more from the interactive interview.
Enjoying what you're hearing? Be sure and check out WrestlingEpicenter.com on social media at Facebook.com/WrestlingEpicenter, on Twitter at James Epicenter, and of course, WrestlingEpicenter.com for 24-hour news updates, our interview archives, and all the other information you've come to expect from the Wrestling Epicenter.
This is Tito Santana, and you're listening to the Interactive Interview. Arriba!
Welcome back. We just finished up with Konnan. What'd you think, Daniel?
What do I think, Daniel?
What do you think, Daniel? Do you think, Daniel? Well, maybe the appropriate question would be, do you think?
Do I think? I like sausages.
Yay! He likes sausages! Yay!
People said not to do that so much.
JC said that. Who cares? I like JC, though. He's a good dude.
Don't do that anymore.
He said, yeah. Is he really not going to listen to the show if I do that anymore?
Oh. Well.
Nobody ever said that.
He's going to take John to it.
We
are the interactive interview, so we do take on the feedback of the fans.
Yeah, they don't know what they're talking about. So what'd you think of Konnan?
Interesting. We got the answer to the questions we wanted, and he was honest. He's very honest. I like it.
I like anybody who's honest, and I was nervous about throwing the last name in there because I knew there was a little bit of a problem between him and Mil Mascaras at one time. And I was like, oh, I don't know, should I say it? Shouldn't I say it? Should I say it? Shouldn't I say it? And you're not going to hear it on the show, but right before I asked him that, he disappeared. And he came back on, and I said, Mil Mascaras. And he said, let me tell you a story. And he just went on. I don't know how long it went, but it was a very interesting story, and probably one I haven't heard him actually tell before. So, once again, the interactive interview, we don't just, give you, so, who you wrestling tomorrow night? we give you pretty in-depth interviews, so I hope you appreciate it.
I was quite worried about how to word the first question.
What was the first question?
The one about him growing up and that lot, and moving from school to school because he's expelled and that.
Ah.
Yeah.
Because if you piss him off on the first question?
Yeah, I figure, if you set him on a bad mood, first question, or even, like, send him New Jack. And then, no, it wouldn't be too good, but, yes, I thought, okay, I've got to kind of tone it down a bit more than I want to. Oh, okay, because I think it was Asylum that wanted to know that question, so.
Right, but it turned out being pretty good. So you think we'll make One Wrestling this week?
I don't know what's up with their emails. I think it's their email counts down or something. Nothing I'm sending through is going up.
Yes, well, whatever they think.
Hmm.
You know, what I don't understand is how come sometimes they have it listed as you and sometimes they have it listed as me that wrote it?
It's because of who writes it.
But I wrote one and it was credited as you, and you wrote one and it was credited as me.
Yes.
So I don't...
Yeah, if they used to take it from, just choose a random host from the two host names that I put on there. But since I've started putting recap by,
right,
and either your name or my name, and that's how they take it now.
Ah, okay, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it does.
Indeed.
So, what's going on this week on TNA?
This week on TNA we have Dusty Rhodes and Jeff Jarrett.
Ooh, the American Dream, if you will.
Versus AJ Styles and Vince Russo.
Yes, that sounds like... I don't know, can Vince Russo hang with Dusty Rhodes?
I don't know. Dusty can try and get out of it.
I'm trying to figure out how, you think Vince Russo's going to wear his crash helmet again, like he always does?
Yeah. I don't think he'll be in the match that much. It'll be kind of like along the lines of Jerry Lawler and Jim Ross versus Coachman and Al Snow. But there'll be obviously more action for the Coachman sort of person who is Dusty Rhodes.
That reminds me, did you see that match now?
I have, yes, I've seen everything now, yeah.
All right, let me talk about that for a second. My idea, and this is an idea I think would have been great, would have been to have Eric Bischoff and Steve Austin come out and do color commentary for that match. Instead of just having dead air, have those two come out and do color commentary for the match. This way, when Jericho came in and kicked Jim Ross, you could have gotten instant feedback from Steve Austin as he did it. And you could also have had Jericho, gone up to Austin or, by the announce table and have Austin, chase him out.
I've only just read the results or found out the main things from the Raw from the night after. Today. So, didn't know that Austin got suspended and whatnot. So.
Austin was what?
Suspended.
For what reason?
Attacking Eric Bischoff unprovoked.
So Austin's actually not on the show anymore?
Apparently, in inverted comments, obviously, he comes back out. He came back out this week and he bought a ticket. And he bought a ticket off a fan or something and came back in the ring and all these different stuff. But,
So basically they're trying to get him over the same way they got him over 5 years ago.
Yep.
Basically, he doesn't actually wrestle, but he gets into the building somehow, usually with a truck or something. And Cowboy will argue with me that wasn't cheap heat. I don't know. He has a point, I have a point. We're both right. We're both right in our own ways. It was cheap heat, but it wasn't just wearing the hometown jersey. Okay. So I thought that was a good idea, and I think that's the kind of idea they're missing in the WWE.
It would have worked. Yeah, it would have worked.
I think it would have worked. Plus, any excuse to get Eric Bischoff back behind the microphone, I like. I like Eric Bischoff as a ring announcer. So he was the ring announcer for Monday Nitro when it first started.
All right.
He was a pretty good guy. He was a pretty good announcer, actually. It's a little bit of a squeaky voice, though.
I I went home to the family home for the weekend, and I came back with me. I brought back, obviously, Unforgiven. Watch that. And I brought back 2 old WCW tapes that I just randomly had lying on my bed.
What tapes?
Good question. I think it's Sold Out and something else.
Which Sold Out?
I know one of the tapes has Benoit versus Sid on.
Ah, that's 2000. That's the one I asked Scott Hudson about, because I don't know if it's on. Is yours an official tape or one you taped personally?
An official tape.
Okay, because I don't have the preview on that. They had a preview on them. I have both the original and the one I just taped off pay-per-view. That was the one that I taped off pay-per-view. I also taped the preview show.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you know the stories behind what happened that day, but that's the day that Bret Hart, just didn't show up because he had the concussion, and Jeff Jarrett didn't show up because he had the concussion. Though some argued that he actually was doing it to protect Russo. Who else didn't show up? Kidman showed up, and nobody expected him to, and everything was going on backstage, and they had to scramble to find a new card for the event and everything like that. And they went on. They seemed to go on the air and not have a clue what to talk about. So, like, the only matches that they kept was like David Flair against Vampiro. So they kept the same. So that's the match they're promoting for like 20 minutes. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, this is not good. David Flair against Vampiro is the main attraction. This is not good.
And so the pre-show, which is supposed to hype the pay-per-view, obviously didn't exactly do that.
They tried to, and they did announce what the main event would be, but it looked out of control. It looked like they were scrambling, and in reality they were. And Scott Hudson even said that much. So, what I find funny though is I was watching tapes the other day, and Bobby Heenan was the ring announcer for Vince Russo. And when Russo left, and Bobby Heenan got sick, it was Kevin Sullivan that took Bobby Heenan off of Nitro, not Russo. But Bobby Heenan said Russo did.
Maybe he's getting confused.
I don't know. I thought...
Or maybe it was Russo who put the actions into...
Maybe he started it, but I think Sullivan would have been able to stop it if he didn't want it to happen. Now, here's what happened. It was and during Russo's first stay, it was Tony Schiavone and Bobby Heenan.
Mm-hmm.
At some point, Scott Hudson slowly came in from time to time, but it was mostly Bobby Heenan and Tony Schiavone.
Uh-huh.
They were there, and it was all three for the Sold Out pay-per-view, I think it was.
All right.
It was Mike Tenay, too, but not Scott Hudson. Anyway, what I'm trying to say here is 2 weeks after Russo left, or maybe 3, Heenan actually was sick, and that's when they brought Mark Madden in to do it. And I'm being completely boring right now, by the way. That's when they brought Mark Madden in to do it, and that's when Kevin Sullivan, I guess, took him out. But Heenan kept saying that it was Russo, and he hates Russo for that fact. But in reality, if you look at the actual dates, Heenan was taken out under Kevin Sullivan's watch. A little tidbit.
Maybe, it's got to be something, because I imagine he probably had a good idea on what's what and when he got taken out and whatnot. But
Yeah, he probably knew that Russo was trying to force him out at some point. I don't know, but Heenan was always my favorite announcer. Mark Madden was okay, but Heenan was always my favorite.
Mark Madden was worse than okay.
What?
He was worse than okay.
You don't think so? Why do you say that?
Just never liked him.
Yeah. He had a couple good lines, but he wasn't as good as Heenan.
No way.
Not in any way, no.
He had big shoes to fill.
Yeah, and he
He's a
didn't...
big guy, but he's not big enough to fill those shoes.
Yeah. Big enough to fill the shorts, just not the shoes.
Split the shorts.
Yeah. But the only thing Mark Manu did that was good was he found a way to get Stacy Keibler over. Every time she came out, he goes, Snoochie Boochies. I don't know what that means, but I don't know, I found it funny. And that brings me to my next topic.
Oh, dear.
Yes. I've been leaving the school today, and I was talking to this girl. Very attractive girl, I must say. And we were talking, and we were walking out, and we were talking about the test, which we got the same grade on. And the teacher, I think, thinks we were cheating because she gives me her notes. And somehow we got the exact same grade, even though she sits like 3 rows behind me. So I don't know how exactly we do that. But anyway, we were talking about the test and everything and how we did on it. But I passed, by the way, so thank you. Yay.
Well done.
Thank you. So we were talking about how we did on everything. And all of a sudden, my father's there picking me up.
Mm-hmm.
So I get in the car, and my father's like, who's that girl? I said, she's my friend. She takes notes for me. How does she smell? What? How does she smell? What is he talking about? How does she smell? Am I missing something here? Can you explain it to me? Because you don't seem that shocked by it.
I'm just kind of silent shocked rather than kind of like, oh my god, gasping for air, sort of breathing shocked. That's really... I have to answer your question without almost accidentally offending you.
How's that?
That's kind of weird. Weird, freaky.
I don't know. So I get home, and my father's like, "Did you just seen this beautiful girl that he was talking to my mother?" And he's like, and he says, and she smells good too. I'm like, I looked at him like, what the hell is wrong with you?
Well, it depends. I mean, you could probably say that paint smells good in comparison to cat manure or something.
Absolutely.
I mean, depending on what he's judging it by.
Now, granted,
It probably does smell quite nice.
Now, granted, me talking to a beautiful woman is not exactly an everyday affair, but there's ways that you can say it without saying, does she smell good? I don't understand what that means.
Maybe he's trying to be sexually funny.
I don't know. He seemed weird to me. He seemed serious to me, too, because he said it a couple times. Like, you listen to the radio on the way back, and he's singing She Smells Good to some song. I don't know what I'm like, have you lost your mind? I don't know.
Maybe he's trying to sort of mock you.
Maybe, but I don't know. All we were doing was talking about the test. I mean, it wasn't like, what are you doing tonight or anything. But she did give me her phone number, which I considered a victory. I'm not going to call. I don't think I'm going to call her because I'm not sure she gave it to me for that reason. But
oh, great. Oh, no, yeah, obviously she gave it to you as just, a piece of paper that's got some random numbers on that you can just, I don't know, use to shade the wind or something at some point.
No, I don't know why she would give it to me, but she just wrote down her phone number, and I'm like, oh, thank you. But I don't think she was like, she didn't like, call me. It wasn't like that.
Oh, dear.
And this reminds me of another topic.
Yes?
A couple months is Thanksgiving.
Since what?
A couple months is Thanksgiving. You know what that is, right?
Not really.
Thanksgiving is the third or is it the second to last or last Thursday of November. It's an American holiday, basically.
I see.
We gather around and eat turkey with family, and we give thanks for everything that we've gotten through the year. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking that TII, since we're the interactive interview, we're going to do a Thanksgiving-themed recap show for whatever interview that is.
Oh, yay.
This is the first time I'm talking to you about it.
Yes, it is.
So, do you know what we're going to do to give thanks?
I don't know what we're going to do.
As many people as we can possibly get from the forums on the show at the end.
What, all in one go, or what?
What?
What, all in one go, or what?
Yeah, we can do a couple minutes with each person. Not as many.
Yeah.
Maybe like 3 people.
I thought you meant like pile about 15 people onto one phone line.
If there was a way I could do it, I would do it, but I don't know. There's a couple people I'd like to have on. I haven't confirmed it with anybody, so I don't know if I should say any names, but there's at least 2 or 3 people that I'd like to have on to give thanks to. Ben Kent.
A couple of people I'd like to give thanks to.
Ben Kent is one. I'd like to get Asylum on. He's submitted a lot of great questions lately.
Red Dragon.
Red Dragon has been great, and he has a good radio voice too.
Pardon?
I talked to him on the phone. He has a pretty good radio voice.
Yeah.
And there's one that I just want to have. And Forums can scream at me all they want, but I'd like to have Kelly on the line.
JC, Rick.
Rick? Of course, Rick. I mean, that goes without saying. So maybe we could split it up into 2 different holidays. One for Christmas, one for Thanksgiving.
Yeah, could do.
Because there's just too many people. We can't have like a 6-hour show with everybody on it. I don't know.
We could just, I don't know. We'll sort out something. Maybe we can get a sort of, without kind of giving away too much to the people who are actually listening to this.
Mm-hmm.
It may sound a bit stupid, that's what we're supposed to be doing, but...
Uh-huh.
Do you remember, it's the email you didn't get from me, wasn't it? So therefore, me trying to prompt you on it probably wouldn't work.
What was that?
Ignore me.
Ignore you. We'll talk about it after the show?
Yes.
Okay. So tomorrow night's NWA TNA is Jeff Jarrett and Dusty Rhodes, if you will, against Vince Russo and the NWA World Heavyweight Champion AJ Styles.
It's probably tonight. It's Wednesday by the time you listen to it. Or tonight, or maybe yesterday, or I don't know, a few months ago.
I don't think it'll be a few months ago.
When was the 1st of October?
Ooh, October's a spooky month.
Pinch punch first of the month.
Is Halloween always October 31st?
I don't know. I don't follow things like that.
You don't know what Halloween is?
No, I know what Halloween is.
Do you have that in England?
Yes, we have that in England. Thanks for being so sarcastic.
No, serious, because you don't have Thanksgiving, but...
No, yeah, we have it, but I just don't keep up to date on dates and things. It's kind of a case of, today's Christmas. Whoops. Today's New Year. Oh, whoopsie.
Here's a little thing. A diva of wrestling actually goes trick-or-treating. Still. Do you want to take a guess?
Same diva that's posing...
As Santa Claus?
Yes.
Yes. And she's been on the show once or twice before.
Yeah.
Yes. Have we given away too much here?
No.
Okay.
No.
Yes.
We've had loads of divas on twice.
Yes.
Loads of shining TNA divas twice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it is. Someone brought up the fact that apparently in the Scott Hudson interview, when Scott was talking about Trinity,
Yeah.
you kind of, was talking about someone.
Keep going.
You kind of went,
Yeah, he said, Trinity, wow, what a sweet girl. And I went,
But I feel like the guy who just let the John Leslie name out.
What'd you say?
I feel like the guy who let the John Leslie name out. The UK people will get it. Like a Channel 5 guy who couldn't say this one name because this guy was being accused of raping someone. And there was one name that you just couldn't say because he was the guy that's been accused, and for legal reasons you couldn't say the name no matter what.
Uh-huh.
And he went and said it. He went and said, so this person, everybody's like, so everybody thinks that John Leslie did this, this, this. And by that time he'd said the name. And
wow.
So he said, I saw an interview with him where his producer is saying in his ear, he's saying like, you just said his name. You said John's name. You couldn't have said that. That's legal, like huge legal ramifications. You just said his name on national TV. And so all the papers picked up on it, and obviously, because someone else had taken the first blow, kind of thing, they'd taken the first, not saying his name. All the papers could say it without having any troubles, because they could say, well, it wasn't us who broke the story, it was this guy on Channel 5.
Confidential. You're supposed to keep those things secret, yeah. I took a journalism class, so I know a little bit about that. Basically, in America, you're allowed to say the guy's name, but you can't say he's a rapist. You have to say alleged rapist. That's how it goes. Alleged rapists.
He was the thing is, the person who they accused, basically the woman, said, I got raped by somebody who I had a relationship with in the late 80s. When I was just breaking into television, at the same time they was breaking into television.
Huh?
And so the one name that really came up was this guy. And so everybody thought, yeah, it must be him. Yeah. Obviously you can't say the name. Blah, blah, blah. And this guy had absolutely no clue that everybody thought it was him. So when he sort of saw his face in the front of the newspaper and everything, it was like, And so he denied that and denied that and denied that. And people he worked for just said, okay, we'll just take some time off and it blows over. But it never blew over because he was discovered snorting cocaine. So it's like really silly when you're like being accused of rape, this guy snorts some drugs. And so he got fired for that. They had pictures of that.
Wow. I don't know. It's a good thing we're a small show because I think we get in trouble ourselves for some of the things we've said. It's a good thing.
Also on the grander scale, not on the small scale.
Well, we're smaller on the grander scale. What was that?
I don't know.
Did you just hear bung?
I did not hear bum, no.
Oh, okay. It must be on my computer then. So I heard it from across the room and went bung. Hope it's making... Yes.
I've got an idea.
What's that?
I'm changing computers pretty soon.
Uh-huh.
So we should get lots of interviews lined up and get them all done with the recaps. Just so that when I change the computers, we can put two up at once. So maybe the next two, say Asia and Big Leo, something like that.
Uh-huh.
And put them two up at once. Because I don't know if my computer will accept my internet connection and whatnot. Hopefully it will, but I don't know.
Oh.
Find out, well,
Do you have to buy a new cable modem then?
no, I doubt it. So, I don't know. I've got to make sure I can get all the stuff from one computer to another. And,
The best idea would be to burn a CD, too, of all our shows.
yeah, I haven't done that yet. I've done, I've put on the CD all the contact numbers.
Uh-huh. Yay.
So, haven't printed it off yet, though.
Yay.
No printer.
No printer. So, when we get off the line, I got to give you a phone number.
Okey doke.
Not going to tell you who it is, though.
Oh.
Should I give it over the air?
No.
That would not be a good idea?
No, that really wouldn't be a good idea.
What I should do one day is to get even with a couple people and not screw me over big time and cost me a lot of money. I should give out their, like, home address and phone number.
But you see, then people are going to be unhappy with you, James.
Oh, no, I'm real concerned if these people like me or not.
Things like that come back and bite you in the arse.
What do you mean by... That happened to you one time with the honky-donk man.
Yeah.
Ah, yeah. Yeah, right down. Silence, right? Don't want to go there, do you?
No.
Not at all?
No.
Okay. So, this was the Konnan interview. Upcoming interviews include
Big Vito.
Asia,
Sid.
Harley Race,
Eddie Hart.
and Father James Mitchell.
Shane Douglas.
The franchise jackass.
I also put in a I put in a media circulation and attempted to get Dustin Diamond today.
Dustin Screech?
You
You want to get Screech?
I want to get Screech.
Okay. It's all right.
Border Championship Wrestling. or Bowler. I'm not sure which one it is.
Alright, we may have to,
BCW.
What was that?
BCW.
BC dub. BC dub. BC dub. Yeah.
So, yeah, he's working for them. So I think it's through them that I tried to get him, I'm not sure. And a couple of other people as well. So.
Justin Diamond Screech. It's alright, 'cause I'm saved by the man. That Kelly girl was hot.
And
What happened to her?
Who?
Kelly.
Kelly Kowalski.
Is that her name on the show?
Kelly something like that.
I think it was Kowalski. I think you're right.
Yeah.
Maybe she was Killer's daughter.
Killer. Oh dear.
That would be scary.
That would be quite scary.
Yeah, that's like, you know, she's a hot girl and you take her out on a date and you go home to meet her parents and he's Killer Kowalski.
He's right. Hey, son-in-law, possible son-in-law. I'll put you in a headlock.
Iron Claw. Jesus Christ. Get away. Ah! That's like...
Who was it that we rang the other day and had to call back 2 hours later?
Tully.
Tully Blanchard.
Yeah.
Impossible. Christopher Daniels, of course, confirmed.
Christopher Daniels is confirmed, too. I forgot that one. Roddy Piper, though we still have to get a date.
Yep, just got to sort out a date for Roddy Piper. People want to know what happened with the Sting stuff.
Yeah, I kind of spilled the beans on the forums.
They basically said yes.
But let me basically explain it real quickly.
Uh-huh.
Got a phone call. No, I didn't get a phone call. I made the phone call. Now, we got this random number from Sting. I don't know where we got it from. And Dan still isn't telling me where we got it from, so that makes me think that it really is just a random person. Anyway, we call Sting, and he picks up the phone, and we talk to him, and we set a date. Somehow, over the lines, Sting got the impression that TNA gave us his phone number. Personally, I think it was a rival show, but I don't know any other rival show that actually has his number. Has his home number, anyway. I think it was a rival show that put that idea in his head. Basically, we got in trouble with TNA because they said that we told him that we, you know, cleared it through them, and I never said that. Somehow it all got jumbled, and the date that we were supposed to call Sting back to do it, we called him and nobody picked up the phone. We have contacted him since then, and things seem to be somewhat okay. It's just a matter of, A, getting him on the phone because he doesn't always answer, and B, confirming a date that he'll actually be there to pick up the phone. So all hope is not lost with Sting, but hopefully it'll happen. We have to get back on that, you know.
That trail.
Yeah. Because we kind of got too railed off it lately.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's that one other person whose cell phone we called yesterday. Don't say the name.
Okay.
Whose cell phone we called yesterday twice. I want to get.
Yes.
Him.
Yes, indeed.
Tis a he.
Who?
Tis a he. I was just saying it's the male.
I thought you said Trinity. And I said, no, we're not going to have her. I don't think she'll be back on.
We've already had it twice. I think that's kind of the fill.
But I don't think she'll be back on for a myriad of reasons. And
With her posing as Santa Claus and whatnot. Oh, God, I'm talking. Oh, stop talking.
ho, ho, ho. I wonder what she smells like.
Okay, so this is a good time to kind of wrap it up and say, submit your questions at 3SW4ums.com, 3SW4UMS.
Why? Because we're for you. Yay! Yay! JC, this is for you! Yay! Yay! Ball games! Take me out to the board! Yay! What?
Do your impression of me.
Daniel, so this is Daniel Edlis signing off for James Walsh on the interactive. James Walsh on the interactive interview. Hello. And, I still do that. The third year hello right in the middle of a sentence. Like I did with the, what was that, JC in the impression contest?
Yeah.
Okay. What happened to Joey Sixpack?
I don't know, he seems to have disappeared.
Yeah.
Cracker. Adam Center. No relation to the father Exorcist himself.
I don't know. I all of a sudden he was just gone. It seems like the only forum members that stick around a while are Ben Kent, and I think he got a little sporadic for a while. Rick Bear, who left for a while. Kelly, who used to be around forever. Though I think she's a lot better of a poster than she gets credit for. And I know a couple people are afraid of her. I'm not personally afraid of her, but, yeah. And what'd you say?
I am.
You afraid of her?
Nah. She couldn't hurt a fly.
I think she could.
I think she could as well.
Yes, well, I'm not going to jump on that train. I think she can take me out anytime.
I mean, everybody's around when they can be. But, they can't be if they can't be. But to say thank you to all the people who've been submitting questions recently and continue to do so. We've been attempting to get the guests that you've been requesting.
Yes.
This is Christopher Daniels, and we've tried like him, we've tried Jim Neidhart, we've again tried Jerry Lawler, we've tried a couple other people. And
I think if we keep annoying Jerry Lawler, he might just agree to do it to shut us up.
I think we've tried him 3 times now, is it?
Yeah, I think so.
And of course, because of his contract, he can't do it. But
We keep trying him.
if we ask, maybe one day he'll say, "Oh yes, actually, because I'm now the Heat job announcer." Well, okay, not anymore, but since he was relegated to Heat for a week, yeah.
Is he back on Raw again?
Yeah.
How about Jim Ross?
Yep.
So basically, the entire retirement bullshit angle lasted a week.
Mhm. Correct. I mean, come on, it's Al Snow and Coachman. You can't have them announcing Raw for too long. Well, if they brought Paul Heyman back, they had Paul Heyman and Coachman.
I don't like Coachman. He doesn't seem to have it.
His new gimmick, I like it a lot. Entertaining.
I'm not sure who... Is Al Snow supposed to be, funny?
I don't know.
He's a good worker. I don't know why they use him like that.
Leaf Cassidy.
Leaf Cassidy, yes. Head.
Alan Marvin.
I didn't actually get that angle right at first.
No?
The head thing.
Why did you not understand, like, the why and the where and the what?
I didn't exactly understand that it was talking about oral gratification at first.
The thing that I never got was the job squad. Because that was just moments, sort of like a few months maybe, before I kind of started to understand some of the terms and whatnot. So I never got the full enjoyment of watching the job squad and thinking, that's so funny, that's ironic. That's good, that's ironic and funny. But,
yeah. I didn't put 2 and 2 together on that one yet. I don't know. I was old enough to figure it out, but I'm not going to get into what.
Older than me.
Yeah, but still, I was old enough to figure it out, but I just never put 2 and 2 together there yet.
Clever. Anyway,
I could talk a little bit more about this, but I fear if I tell anybody any more information about me, they might get frightened. So I'm going to stop now.
let's not. Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus, we have to wrap this up.
So,
submit questions. We have to be forums.
Teddy Hart, Christopher Daniels, which should be recording soon, so you might want to hurry up right there. Who else?
And if you're listening to this in the archives, probably a good chance that quite a few interviews have come up since the Konnan interview in the archives, maybe.
Yeah.
Depending on when you're listening to it. So check out theinteractiveinterview.com /.
If you're listening to this now, you know that I am now dead. I'm sorry. To my loving wife and children, I leave nothing. To my listeners, I leave everything.
To my cat, I leave its litter tray.
I don't know. Thank you. Thank you very much. So, what do we sign off now?
Yeah, I suppose we better.
I don't want to face the day.
Bye-bye.
Good day.